everywhere? Okay, I'm live everywhere. So now, thank you very much for joining, guys. Today's topic will be about like reading your visa or residence permit. Because if you are already in the Czech Republic, or if you're applying for some kind of, if you're moving here, at some point you will receive some kind of visa or residence permit. And it's very important to understand what's written there. So I will, if you have a visa, you should know what's in there, what exactly it entitles you to, and like how it all works. So I will explain now. I will show you always like some examples of visas, residence permits, and I will explain all the details in there. Okay, so let's start with a long-term visa or a short-term visa. Basically, both of them are the same thing. There are differences which I will show you. Okay, so how to read a visa. So first of all, visa is just a sticker in your passport. Okay, so you have a passport and the Czech embassy or whoever is issuing your visa will put a visa sticker into your passport. So visa is part of your passport. And the visa looks like this. I'll show you as much as I can. And there are many important information, or there is a lot of important information on the visa, either a short-term or long-term. So now how to read the visa. So every visa issued by the Czech Republic has some essential information that must be included on the visa. First of all, there's the validity of the visa. So there is a starting date and end date of the visa. So let's say from the 1st of January 2022 till the 31st of December 2022. So you get the visa for 1 year. So that's the validity of the visa. That's very important. But maybe more important part of that is let's say the amount of days you can spend in the Czech Republic within the validity of the visa, because it's not always equal. If you get a long-term visa, then yes, then usually the amount of days you can spend in the Czech Republic is the same as the total validity of the visa. So if you get the visa for 365 days, you can spend 365 days here. It's in the visa, it's called duration of your stay. There is a validity of the visa, which is from until, and then duration of your stay, which identifies how many days out of this period you can spend in the Czech Republic. So for short-term visas, it would look like, for example, the visa validity would be from the 1st of January 2022 till the end of December 2022. But the number of days, the duration of your stay would be, for example, only 90 days, which means that within the given period of 1 year, you can only spend 90 days in the Czech Republic at a time. Then you can leave, spend 90 days outside of the Czech Republic and come for another 90 days. But there is always this limitation. If you have the long-term visa, that would look like from the 1st of January 2022 until the end of December 2022. And you can spend here 365 days, which means that you can stay here for the whole year. So that's a very important thing to understand, because especially for long-term visas, not that much, because usually the validity of the visa equals the amount of time you can spend here. But for short-term visas, this is a crucial difference, because you can get the visa, the short-term visa, Schengen visa, for say 1 year or sometimes even 2 years, but your stay is always limited by some amount of days you can spend here. So this is especially important for the short-term visas. And maybe now it's the time to explain how to know if your visa is a short-term or long-term. Or there is also something called a transit visa, which you can only use if you need a visa in a country when you're changing airplanes. But it's not really something we work with, so I will not go into much details. But then on the visa, you have some letter. It's either A or C or D, ACD. A is the transit visa, so usually don't get it. I don't think I've ever even seen it in my life. Then you have C, which means a short-term visa. And then you have letter D, which means a long-term visa. So from the first glance of your eye, you can understand if your visa is a long-term or short-term, because short-terms have C in there and long-terms have D in the visa. So you can immediately tell if it's a short-term visa or long-term visa. And then Of course, there are like the important or like the general information, like where it was issued, when it was issued, the date. There is your name, obviously, full name, like first name and second name. And then there is a space for notes. And in the notes, the issuing authority, usually a Czech embassy, identifies what is the purpose of your stay. So usually there is some code, some number identifying what is the purpose of your stay. So the code would be looking, for example, like D/, which would mean like a long-term visa, / then VC, which is not important now, then / then some number. So let's say 27, which stays for employment, or 23 or 24 for studies, or 17 or 95 for family reunification, any number like that, which identifies the purpose. And then there can be some additional information about another, after another / identifying this a bit further. For example, you can have the code or the number 27, which means that your purpose of stay is employment. But then behind the / you can also have WH, which means working holiday. So it's like employment, but under the special regime of the working holiday program. So there are many things on the visa, and if I look at it as an immigration expert, I can immediately tell a lot of things from the visa. And I can like already start creating a strategy for you, how to apply for this and how long you can stay and where to apply and what the visa entitles you to do and everything. Because if you can read these essential things, you can, that's a building stone for any further operation. If you don't know what's written in your visa, then it's not good, obviously. Okay, so that was a short-term visa. Guys, if you have, for those who are watching me on Facebook or YouTube, if you have any questions, please shout them in, write them down, and I'll be happy to answer and comment. Okay, so that was the short-term visa and explanation of what you can find there. So the most important thing to remember is and how to read a visa in your passport. So the most important parts are the validity of the visa, which can be up to 2 years, depending. Then the duration of your stay, which is the duration of the stay, the maximum stay you are allowed to be in the Czech Republic within the validity of the visa. Then the purpose of your stay, the type of the visa, which can be either C, which is a short-term visa, or D, which is a long-term visa. And then actually one more important thing is how many entries you are allowed to the Czech Republic. So if you're getting your first visa, it's usually one. So it's one entry. So if you enter the Czech Republic and you have only one entry visa, then once you leave, you cannot come back until you get a new visa. You can also have like multi-entry, which means that you can come and go as you wish. That's multi-entry means like multiple entries, so you can leave multiple times, you can come back multiple times under the same visa. And there can be also anything in between. So what I've seen also is like 2 entry that you can come, you can leave once and you can come again. But once you leave again, you need to get a new visa to come back again. So those are the different information and the most important information on your long-term visa. Let's go now to the long-term residence permit, which, guys, for those of you who have the new ones already, so the long-term residence permit looks like this. So the visa was just a sticker in your passport, attached to your passport. The long-term residence permit is a biometric card. It's this kind of plastic card, which has your biometric data there. So you have your photo there, then they also take your fingerprints, and you also have your signature digitalized here. So that's a separate document, which is not connected to your passport. Usually keep it separately. But the most important thing is that you should be always keeping both, your passport and the residence permit, because this residence permit is not a travel document. So it shows that you're legally residing in the Czech Republic and that you should be allowed entry anytime. But it's not a travel document. So you always need to have your passport as your travel document, and then this residence permit card separately proving that you have the right to live and enter the Czech Republic. And there are also many important things on the residence permit. So let's start with that. there are the basic general information here, like your name and date of birth and nationality, all these. But then there are a couple more important information, and especially the most important one is, again, the notes. For some reason, it's always the notes which are the most important, because under the note, they can basically write anything which is important. So what is always there is the purpose of your stay. Again, that's given by a special code, number code, like a number, which I will show you right now. There is a list of like these codes starting from 0 to like 99, and that identifies the purpose of your stay in the Czech Republic. So for example, if you come here as a student and you get this residence permit as a student, your code here will be 23 or 24. Sometimes other numbers as well, but those are the main ones. If you come here as an employee of a company and you get the employee card, you will have exactly the same card as a student would have, but the code here, the number here will be different. So you will have 27 there. And that actually makes the difference, because people think that if they have a student residence permit, that it looks completely different than an employee card. But that's not true. All the residence permit, long-term residence permits, and now also the permanent residence permits, they all look the same. It's always the same card, same information is there. The only thing that identifies what exactly you're holding, if it's a student residence permit or if it's an employee card, is actually the number here in the notes. So that's very important to understand as well. And you should always know what is the purpose of your stay, what's the number, what it means, because that's important for many reasons, starting from employment to others, like getting permanent residency, for example. I talked about it in some of the other live streams. Okay, so what can be in the notes? The first thing which I mentioned was the number identifying your purpose of stay. That's number one. Number two, what the ministry started doing now, like just couple months ago, is that they tell you right there if you have the right to work or not. So there is a check line saying volný přístup na trh práce, like free entry to the labor market, and then yes or no, ano or ne. Thank you very much, guys, for the likes. And depending on what's written there, if yes or no, it tells you if you're allowed to work or not, which is it looks like a small thing, but it's super important, because this used to be one of the most confusing things, and especially for family reunification visa, because I've even done like a full live stream about this, because it used to be very, very confusing. Some people, some family members, some spouses could work, some could not. The same with students, some could not, and that was very, very confusing. Now it's different, because the ministry usually writes there if you can work or not, and that's very important and very significant. So that's one of the good things the ministry has done in the last 3 years, besides all the strange things they did. But this is actually a good thing, because you can immediately see if you can work or not, and that's very important for many of you moving to the Czech Republic, obviously. And then usually what is also written in the notes field is your birth number. That's another special thing in the Czech Republic. And I did another live stream about that, because it's also very confusing, but it's kind of like your identification number. It's like a social security number in the US that identifies you as a person, and all the authorities, once you have this number, any authority you go to, like a social security, healthcare, or tax office, anywhere, they can find you under this number. So it's actually kind of important. Not that you would need that often, but it's good to have it. Again, I've already done a live stream about that. But if you have that issued already, that would be written here. It's usually like a 10-digit number. The first 6 digits are about your date of birth, so it's year, month, day of your birth, and then slash and some 4 random numbers, kind of. So that's also written there. And another important thing here is the validity of the residence card, which shows you until your residence card is valid. So that's kind of self-explaining, as well as all the other information, like your sex and your nationality and your date of birth. Those are all self-explanatory. but the notes field is the most important, where you find actually the important information. Then on the back of the card, now there is usually nothing. There is another notes field. There is usually nothing now. There used to be the address of your residence in the Czech Republic, but now the ministry doesn't print the address on your cards, because before that, if the address was printed there and you moved, you would have to exchange the card. So do biometrics again, wait for 3 weeks to get a new card. You would have to pay like 1,000 crowns. And it was really like a waste of time and money for everyone, including the ministry. So they stopped doing that, and they don't write the address on the card. But I've still seen it on the new cards. Sometimes it was just written there for whatever reason, I don't know, but it was there. So that would be on the back of the card, along with the notes, or in the notes field. And then on the back, there is also the date of issue and the place where the card was issued. So if it was issued, for example, in Prague 6, in Žukovského, there would be written the MOI office in Prague 6 and the date when it was issued. So combined, you know when the card was issued, what's the end date, and you know the validity. So that's it about the long-term residence permit. As mentioned, the most important part there, or there are two most important information in the notes field. First is the code, which identifies the purpose of your stay. There is a list of codes here, like the official purposes of stay, starting from culture to business to studies to family reunification to employee cards to the other purpose of stay, the other studies, for example. And then the second most important information there is if you're allowed to work or not. So if you have the free access to the labor market or not. Then basically all the cards look the same. Even permanent residency for non-EU citizens, for third country nationals, look exactly the same. Just in the notes field would be written trvalý pobyt, permanent residency, instead of the number, because the number only applies to long-term residence permits. If you have a permanent residence permit, it's written there in words like trvalý pobyt, permanent residency. What you can still kind of see sometimes, not for too much longer, but you can still see this type of card, which is the old version, old specimen. Now the ministry doesn't issue it anymore. They only issue this new one, the new format, which has a different color and different layout, but basically the same information. But these are still valid, but I believe they stopped issuing those like 1.5 years ago. So if you still have one of these, it will be expiring soon, because now, like 1.5 years ago, they started doing the new cards only. Okay, so let's now jump to EU citizens and their family members. If you're an EU citizen and you decided to get the registration certificate, or the certificate of temporary residency, how it used to be called before like August this year, then you get this kind of like piece of paper, and that's actually pretty strange or funny, because there is no like biometric information, there is no photo, no fingerprints, nothing. It's just like a piece of paper, like as you see it here, kind of printed on the normal piece of paper. It's basically the same size as here. It's like the real size, and it's almost printed on the same paper. You know, it looks a bit more official, but it's just like a folded piece of paper, and that's it. So it doesn't really look even official, but yeah, this is an official registration certificate issued by the Ministry of the Interior for EU citizens. What is important now to mention is that British citizens who still have this residence certificate, they would have a big red stamp here saying EU withdrawal agreement, which means that they're staying in the Czech Republic under the EU withdrawal agreement, meaning that they can keep the same rights as EU citizens. But what needs to happen now is that all British citizens still holding this residence certificate need to replace it by the biometric card, which I showed before. So all British citizens need to get this biometric card, ideally before August, the end of August next year, if you want to keep your EU rights in the Czech Republic. Because British are no longer EU citizens, so they can no longer have just this piece of paper, but they need to have the biometric data in their cards, and hence they need to switch to to the card. Then, if you're a family member of an EU citizen, meaning that, for example, you are from Japan, but you have a wife or husband from France, and you move to the Czech Republic together, you can apply for a special type of residence permit, which is called temporary residence permit for family members of EU citizens. If you're not a married couple, if you're just dating each other, you can still get it, and it's so-called partnership visa. And in case you're getting the partnership visa or the temporary residence permit as a family member of an EU citizen, you will be issued this kind of like a blue booklet. Yeah, basically this is what you're getting. It looks like a small passport. It has multiple pages. It's a blue book, and you get issued with that from the Ministry of the Interior. It's kind of funny because it looks like a passport, and it looks more official than the residence certificate for EU citizens. But for example, your photo is just glued to that, and then they laminate it with like, I don't know what you laminated with, some plastic piece of whatever. So it's kind of like, it looks more official than this piece of paper for EU citizens, but still it's kind of not really too serious because it's the photo is just glued there. But anyway, again, for most of you who got this as a partnership visa, you can still keep those. Those are still valid. But if you're a distant family member, which I talked about in another live stream, or Daria Somova talks about that in her streams and in her TikTok videos. If you're a distant family member, which means that you're just dating each other, you're not married, then you have to exchange this type of residence permit for the biometric card as well, for this new format. Because if you don't do that, that's fine, but you might lose some of the rights after August of 2022, I believe. So you need to exchange this blue booklet into the passport, the biometric card as well. It's similar as British citizens, because there have been some changes in the immigration law, and this is just what you need to do if you want to keep your rights. So either EU rights for British citizens or EU family members' rights for distant family members. Similar situation with this, which used to be or still is valid permanent residence permit for family members of EU citizens and even for EU citizens. So again, for permanent residency, you would get this like green booklet, but then also you need to exchange it, especially if you're British or if you're the distant family member, so meaning you're not a married couple with the EU citizen, then you need to exchange it for the biometric card as well. Otherwise, you might lose some of the rights. And for example, for British citizens, this would be crucial because you would lose the EU rights and you would be treated as a non-EU citizen, which sucks, honestly speaking. As someone who's been in the field for 11 years now, it really sucks if you're a non-EU citizen, and especially if you're one of the countries Czech Republic doesn't really have good relationship with or doesn't want to have, or doesn't care, then it could be pretty complicated for you. So especially, or definitely, if you have one of these, either the temporary residence permit or the permanent residence permit, exchange it for the biometric card before August next year if you want to keep the same rights as you have. So those were the most important things. Let me see if there is something else I would tell you, but I guess not, because that was the most important. I talked about the visas, how to read the visas, how to see if the visa is a short-term visa or long-term visa, what is the difference between the validity of the visa and the amount of days you can spend in the Czech Republic, what is sorry, I got disconnected there. So also, what is the like how many entries you can have on the visa, yeah, and all the other, and what identifies the purpose of your stay. So I've talked about all this, and then I showed you the long-term residence permit / the permanent residence permit, because they look the same now. I explained all the information here, especially the notes field, which is the most important, because it tells you first what is the purpose of your stay, and second, if you have a free access to the labor market, meaning if you can work, in the Czech Republic, and sometimes it also shows your rodné číslo, your birth number, the magical number, which you never need, but you always need it, kind of. So yeah, we went through that, and I also mentioned that if you're a British citizen or if you're a family member, of an EU citizen, meaning if you have either this piece of paper, the temporary residence certificate or the registration certificate, how they call it now, or if you have this blue booklet as a family member of an EU citizen, that you need to extend those until the end of August next year if you want to keep the same rights as you have now, because there have been many changes in the immigration law, plus Brexit, plus other things, so you need to do that. Otherwise, you might lose some significant and important rights here. Okay, then maybe I will show you also one more thing. If you're applying for something in the Czech Republic, some extension, for example, of your residence permit or visa, or if you're changing your purpose, or I don't know, if you're here under a long-term visa and you're applying for a long-term residence permit, you should always get a piece of paper like this. This is a confirmation that you submitted the application properly. And that's also very important, because first, it shows that you submitted the application. So, because what can happen is that the ministry loses your documents. I'm not saying that it happens too often now, but especially in the past, it was happening. They just lost all your documents. Or they can just misplace them, or they can try to deny the application. But if you have this confirmation, you have a proof that you went to the ministry in person, that you submitted that on a specific day, and that the application was fine, that they accepted that. So it's very important to prove that you applied, and if you applied in time. Usually you don't need it, but when you need it and you don't have it, that's a big trouble. Another thing why it's important is that here on the top left corner is your application number. So based on the application number, you can track the status of your application online. That's a huge development from the side of the Ministry of the Interior. They started with that like 2 years ago. And now you can actually track the status of your application online. There is a special application for that. You go there, you put in the application number, which you can find on the confirmation that you submitted your application. And then you can check what's the status of your application. Obviously, it doesn't work the way that it would tell you like what's missing and what's like the real status of your application, but it tells you if it was denied, if it was approved, or if it's still in process. So you can at least get some basic information. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you could not get this information until you physically went to the ministry and you stayed like 2 hours in the line, and then when someone finally decided to see you, and you convince them that like you really needed information, they would tell you what's the status. Now you can kind of track it online. So that's good, and that's another important thing to get and keep in mind if you're submitting some application to get this. You should always check the information in there, because they can mess up your name or your address, or they can even put a different purpose of your stay in. They can confirm that you submitted application for extension of your employee card, even though you submitted extension of your student visa, for example. So you always need to check all this information, because if you find out later when there is usually some problem, then it's bad. So when you're getting this, that's very good. Definitely ask them to give it to you anytime you go there. They have to do it, but they don't have to do it without you asking, So always tell them, hey, I need a confirmation that I submitted this, and they have to do it, they give it to you, but make sure that you read all the information, that you check it, and that everything is correct there. So that was it. I believe I'm checking if there is something else important. Then I also have different examples of like refugee passports and stuff like that, but really in real life we don't deal with that, because it's for very specific situations. And I did a live stream and some TikTok videos about, and I will be posting more. So if you're not following me yet, please do, because I've done a live stream about statistics, immigration statistics, and some of them were very interesting. There were, for example, they were, sorry, I hope you still hear me. So for example, how many foreigners are in jail, how many foreigners caught tuberculosis in the Czech Republic. And there are many like interesting things like that. So go to the statistics recording or to the statistics video I have on YouTube or Facebook group or TikTok or Instagram. And one of the important things there was, I don't remember numbers, but it was something like that 3,000 people applied for asylum in the Czech Republic and like 10 people got it. So Czech Republic is not really open to asylum seekers or to any kind of like help to anyone. So we don't really deal with that too often. First, because it's not that common. Second, because there is not much we could do, because if you have 3,000 applications and you approve 10, the chances are not really high for you if you're applying. So I will not go through that much, but if you need any information about that, let me know. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, now is the good time to ask. So I can see Trinity here. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much for your support. You also come anytime you can, so I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. And guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you for the likes. And of course, as you know, recording of this whole live stream will be on my Facebook in the group you're watching probably from, the Expats in CZE help and support group. It will be also on my YouTube channel, and I will post the bits of the live stream to my TikTok and to my Instagram. So guys, please follow me everywhere, because I do a slightly bit different content or different ways of doing the content for each of the platforms. So if you're looking for like deep information, the best thing is to follow me on YouTube, because I do I do these live streams mainly there. And so I go deep into the topic, and you can get a lot of information from those videos. On TikTok, I usually do like 10 documents you need for this kind of visa, or the difference between student visa and the other purpose of stay, difference between blue card and employee card, things like that, which are important, but you can summarize them in like 1 or 2 minutes video. So if you're more about shorter content, then definitely TikTok or Instagram. I guess TikTok is better. I'm much better on TikTok. Instagram is kind of doing fine. I had like 11,000 views on a Christmas tram now. But besides that, it's usually not that good. I'm not that good on Instagram, but TikTok, I'm pretty fine there. And I'm seeing some question, I believe here, Richard Orio. Hi, Richard. Please feel free to type in the question. I'll wait for that. So there should be hopefully one more question coming from YouTube. So let's hang around for a couple more seconds or minutes. Or maybe Richard was only like saying hi, which is good as well. And thank you for watching. But if you have any questions, please feel free to type it in. The same for you guys on Facebook. Maybe also let me know who's watching and where are you from and like why you following me if you have time, because that's interesting. Like, who are you and like where you found me and why, actually. Because I hope I provide a valuable content. I try to do everything in the way that it's clear and that you get the information you need and that it's useful. But if you started following me for something else, let me know. I'll be happy, like my nice beard or stuff like that. Okay, so question. I'm a holder of employee card and there's Poznámky 27. What that means? Thank you. Okay, that's actually what we were going through here. And if you have a long-term residence permit in the Czech Republic, let me find some example right now. This one is the biggest, so it will be the best. So long-term residence permit always looks like this. It's a plastic card. It's a biometric card. Looks like a Czech ID. It has your fingerprints and photos and like all the other details there, digitalized signature and everything. Okay. And one of the most important parts of the card or the information is actually here in Poznámky in the notes, which is the most important like part of the whole card. There is always the number, in your case, for example, 27, which identifies the purpose of your stay. So if you have the number 27 there, it means that the purpose of your stay is employment. So that means that you have an employee card. If your number wasn't 27, but it was, for example, 23 or 24, that would mean that you're here, your purpose of stay is student or like studies. So you would be here, you would not have an employee card, but you would have a student residence permit. The card would look exactly the same. It would be exactly the same card, but just the number would be different, and the number would identify the purpose of your stay. So that's the easy answer for that. Another, or like the other important information, which is usually there, not in case of employee cards usually, but for other purposes of stay, like family reunification, students, or the other purpose of stay, it also says, the card usually says if you're allowed to get employed in the Czech Republic or not, if you have a free access to the labor market or not. So it's written there in Czech, and it says volný přístup na trh práce, like free access to the labor market, and yes or no, ano or no, ano či ne. I don't know, like mix the languages. But yeah, and sometimes what you can also have there, Richard, is your birth number, which looks like, I don't know if you'll see that, but it looks like this. It's the 10-digit number, which is like a social security number in the US, which identifies you as a person. And if you go to any Czech authority, you can just say this number, and they will be able to find all the records. So Richard, thanks for the info. Yes, I have the same biometric card, zaměstnanecká karta. I'm from the Philippines, and I'm under qualified employee program and have been working here for 6 months. Cool. Congratulations. That's actually good that your employer got registered into the program, because there are special programs for employers. I might do a live stream about that as well, because many people ask about that. Because in some countries, for example, in India, there are quotas on how many people can apply for, let's say, employee card every year. And the quota, for example, for India, I believe was like 720 people. So 720 people from the whole of India, like 1.5 billion people, can apply for an employee card a year. So it's very difficult to get an employee card as an Indian citizen. Plus, there are always a big portion of that amount is reserved for special programs. So for example, for the employee card, let's say there are 720 spots available for all Indian citizens, and actually all the surrounding countries there as well, a year. But say 700 of that is reserved for the special programs like the qualified employee or highly qualified employee. And if your employer is not registered in one of the programs, you always compete for the remaining 20 slots with the rest of India. So you have like a very small chances that you will get the visa, or that you will get at least the appointment at the embassy to submit your application. So if your employer is part of the program, that's very, very good. And you can get here, actually, the chances are way higher than if you were not registered. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. TikTok, John Ahmed. TikTok, yes. I don't know what you exactly mean by TikTok, but I'm on TikTok, and yeah, you prefer TikTok, I guess, yeah? Because this is more like, again, I go deeper in the topic. It's usually like 25, 30 minutes. So it's difficult to watch the whole time. It's better to, maybe for people who come back and watch the recording, because you can play it anytime, and you can like move forward and everything. So if you're interested like in deeper information, YouTube recordings or YouTube live streams or Facebook recordings are good. But if you're more about like get the information fast and the information you need, that's definitely my TikTok. I post the very short videos there, up to the longest, I don't know, 3 minutes I've done, I believe. And I describe everything in the most simple way and with the most information possible. So you can, guys, find me everywhere under the same nickname. I'm always Jan Kalina in some form, and you will always find this beard there. So you can definitely find me on all the platforms. Svetlana, nice to see you. Thank you very much for coming. Nice to have you live here. Thank you very much. Richard, exactly. That's the only way for them to get me. And I think I'm very lucky to my company to do these things. I waited for long. Yeah, that's true. Unfortunately, I don't know. The unemployment rate in the Czech Republic is very low. It's like basically zero, because the people, like the persons that are there, are just people who don't want to work. Second, there are so many, like, I don't know how many, there were a couple hundred of thousands available positions in the Czech Republic, like all types of positions. So we obviously need people to come and work here. Very low unemployment, meaning that Czech people don't want to work or cannot work more because there are just no people to work. And like plus like a couple 100,000 of available positions. And the Czech government kind of does everything to make it complicated for everyone to come here and work. So as I don't know for like how long it took for you, Richard, but usually if you're getting an employee card, the shortest you can do is like 3 to 4 months if you're like super lucky and you're part of the program. If you're like a standard employee and your employer is like a standard employer not registered in a program, then it can take like 6 months, it can take like 12 months. And sometimes you don't even get a spot at the embassy because there are the quotas. So it's very difficult for people to get here and work, even though we're like lacking plenty of people, like couple hundred thousands of people from the market. So I don't know what the government is doing and why, but unfortunately it's like that. So if your company got you here, then you are lucky. And thank you very much for coming here, because it's important. We need people from abroad to work, and I'm happy that it worked out for you, and hopefully that will continue and you'll be happy in the Czech Republic. And of course, if you need anything, let us know or let me know. We'll be happy to help you. Maybe one last thing, and then I'll go, is to say that what used to happen is that companies got some employees here, and employees immediately left the company and went to work for some other company who maybe offered more money, or I don't know. So there was a change in the law, I believe in 2019, which introduced the thing that if you're an employee card holder, you cannot change your employer. You need to stick with your employer for 6 months, and only after that you can switch an employer. And also the new employer cannot be an agency, because that also used to happen very much, that people went to an agency and then they were deployed employees for some company for some time, and then they were deployed somewhere else. And the standard companies didn't like that, so they lobbied and they put it in the law that you have to stick with the first employer for 6 months, and you cannot switch to get employed by an agency. Okay, guys, if you have any more questions, I just got an idea about what to do next time, so I'm just writing it down. Yeah, I will not tell you now, probably, but it might be a good topics. It might be actually a series of topics, and I will be doing that. So look forward, because it's a good idea, and I guess it was thanks to Richard and all the other things. So thank you very much for that, guys, and look forward to this new series of videos. And the last things, okay, 2 more questions. I waited 56 days to get the decision for my D visa. Okay, so 56 days. Before that, it took you some time to collect all the documents. I guess that was usually it's like a month. And then you need to come to the Czech Republic and do the biometrics, the fingerprints, and then pick up the card. So in total, I guess in your case was also like 3 to 4 months at least. And that's like really the shortest you can get if you're lucky. Usually it takes even way longer. And now Tausif25, is Czech Republic a suitable country for business graduates and professionals? Like, well, it depends. Like for business, if you want to move here for business, not really. It's not really easy, because you need to prove that you have a reason to stay in the Czech Republic. So, for example, I had a call with a really nice young lady from Colombia, and she wanted to move here because she visited Prague, and it was like really, okay, I'm sorry. She fell in love with the city, and she wanted to move here, and she had an employer in the US, and she wanted to keep the employer as a freelancer and just move to the Czech Republic. Unfortunately, Czech Republic doesn't offer anything like that, like any digital nomad visa or anything like that, that you could just work online for some foreign companies and move here for business purposes. Unfortunately, that doesn't work like that. I did another video called Digital Nomads. Is it a thing in the Czech Republic? You can find it on my YouTube as well. But unfortunately, you always need to link your business to the Czech Republic somehow. So you need to have clients here, or you need to have a very specific business plan for the Czech Republic. Otherwise, the business visa most likely will not be granted to you. So moving here for business, it's not really good, like not easy. Business opportunities, that's a different thing. Yes, that's yeah, for this, it's, I guess, good country, but visa-wise, not really. If you mean like that you studied business and you want to move here, then it's a different story, because question is if there is a demand for that. That's hard to say for me if there is a demand. There is a huge demand for software developers and anything related to that field, like IT. If you're like a developer, app developer, software developer, whatever, then you will always find a job, and a very well-paid job here. But for business, I would not say that it's that like wanted profession. And second is the thing I was talking just a couple seconds ago about, that it's very difficult to get you here as an employee. You would first need to find an employer willing to employ you and sponsor you for the whole process. And then the employer needs to wait for you like 6 months before you can start working. And most employers just don't want to do that. So they don't want to sponsor you, because if they need you now and they need to wait 6 months, if you're lucky, then it's just not really appealing. So yeah, that's probably my answer to your question. And Richard Oreo, thank you for making videos before it's hard to find information about Czech visas. Keep going it. Keep doing it. Thank you. I will. I'm happy that I'm bringing a value and that it's useful, and I can start seeing the following building up, and especially on TikTok, I'm growing there nicely. YouTube is doing, in my opinion, fine as well. Not that good as TikTok, but it's good, and I appreciate it because many people comment on the videos and we can actually interact there, so it's very good. And Instagram, I'm doing my best there, but the best post I've ever made, like from the perspective of views, was a Christmas tram with 11,000 views or 12,000 views. All the immigration stuff, no one's interested. I usually get like 80 views, or then sometimes like 1,200 or something, but no one's interested in that. But everyone was interested in the Christmas tram. So if you want to see a Christmas tram, go to all of my channels and you will always find it there, in shorts on YouTube or reels on Instagram, or not sure if on Facebook, probably not. Okay, guys, thank you very much. So Tausif25, thank you very much for joining. Richard Oreo, thank you very much for joining. Svetlana, thank you for joining. John Ahmed, thank you very much for contribution. And all the others who joined, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And see you on Thursday. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.